from the day we got in, we're going to do exactly what we do every day. We're going to get it so good. You can have us on film. You can watch it. You can try to find somebody to emulate it. You're never going to find somebody that does it as well as we do it.
That's true.
And we're going to go just impose our will every game. Every fight we treat just like football. I mean, it's so funny. I coach him just like football, just like I planned on doing all those years.
Sure.
Now I'm just applying it to MMA. And he thinks about this game just like a football player. So we just break down film the same way. We know what we're going to do.
Right.
I mean, I know every single thing about Robert Valentine, and he knows 10 times more. He'll know, like, what he ate for breakfast this morning.
Yo, it's your boy Phil Wham Bam Benamino. It's another Wham Bam Wednesday. You know, the show about ordinary people who've done extraordinary things. And today, as always, before we get going, we're going to ask you to subscribe, baby. Hit the button down below. Subscribe. Hit the alert button. Get all the great alerts and stuff. Today, we got a treat for you. We got a special guest in the house. We got UFC coach. We got a entrepreneur. We got Matt Harris in the house of Scrapyard.
What's up, brother?
How are you, baby? How you doing today?
You, man. Thanks.
Scrapyard MMA, man. Right here in the house. That's a great-ass name. Where'd you come up with that?
Brother, the thing was a scrapyard for 70 years. Like, we're literally at a scrapyard. This place was a junkyard, chop shop. They were chopping Corvettes in the thing. There's a Corvette buried out back is the theory or the rumor. So
really,
it was just a cool place, and it really couldn't be anything else.
Did you ever fight there prior to? Was that like a place people would go? And
I'm sure there were some beatings that were delivered there, but I don't know if they were ever one-on-one. It was kind of that kind of spot, but it was a cool spot and had a lot of history behind it, and so. We'll still take metal. I got the scrap license is still there. So if somebody wants to, bring in the metal.
True entrepreneur. You take it all.
You can pay your dues with metal, crypto. I don't carry gold, whatever works for you.
Whatever's got a value to it.
That's right.
Gotta love that. Gotta love that. So listen, man, tell us a little bit about your story, man. Growing up, I mean, how'd you get into MMA? Obviously, you're an athlete. You did some fighting yourself, but let's hear your story.
The funny thing is I never fought MMA. So I've never had an official fight of MMA. I came up.
And here you are coaching this weekend, a UFC debut.
My first UFC fight that I watched in person, I was in the corner and the head coach.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't typically happen, right?
That was your first time ever.
That was my first time at a UFC. I was the head coach.
You were the head coach.
I had never even sat in the stands before at a UFC event.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it was pretty unbelievable. You kind of try to make the decisions that a grown-up would make, and then God has other plans, and you go back to what you probably were supposed to do. So, I was always an athlete and played.
Born and raised where?
In Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia. We're just south of Chattanooga, the last exit in Georgia.
Okay, gotcha.
So, right at exit 350, and grew up there, and my family was kind of from Sand Mountain, where Trevor Peak's from, one of my other fighters.
Yeah.
And so we had connection.
Trevor's another UFC guy.
That's right.
Man, you just put them out there now, huh?
We've got a couple, and we've got a few more
manufacturing people up there.
Hey, there's tough people up there, and we've got SEC athletes, so it's hard to beat. When you've got that level of athlete, if you give me a good athlete, I can give them the skills to get there. So I love having these kids. They're still hard workers. They don't come from a lot. It's Appalachia where we're from, and I'm a hillbilly.
Right.
And I feel close to those people, but with Torres, I'm an athlete. So me and him kind of have a different connection that we played any sport. We love football and, just had a passion for sports, but maybe football wasn't our path and God had another direction. Really, I got done with college and I was just wanting to do something athletic. I knew I was still an athlete and, gotten probably too many fights in college. And then
you're a fighter. You a troublemaker?
I was never. The funny thing, I was never
be a troublemaker. Not too many people probably want to mess with you, man. Or were you one of those guys that were like, "Let me take out the big guy and see how it goes"?
There was some of that. I think
challenge.
I think a lot of it. If you're in the wrong places, you're going to find the wrong people.
When did you find yourself fighting? Wait, did you get any siblings, brothers, sisters?
So me and my brothers, we grew up fighting. I was the oldest.
Okay, there it is.
That was easy. I always liked fighting. I always loved competing.
Yeah,
but it wasn't until I didn't have a sport like. Had a couple surgeries in college and football ended for me early. And I was probably just angry, to be honest with you. And I was looking for some reason.
Football, I love football. I mean, that's where I got my Wham Bam from, man. They used to call me Wham Bam Benamino on the field because I just like to hit people. That was it, man. It was just about that contact.
I never cared about the glory. I still don't. This is probably my first podcast. It's just me. I don't go looking for glory, but I love the fight. I love the competition. I love being there with the guys, and really the locker room was kind of what I missed.
What was your first fight? What was your first actual fight? Now I'm talking about your brothers. What was your first real fist fight? How old were you?
I was like probably 6th, 7th grade, and my buddy had gotten his Taekwondo black belt, and we're at like a fall festival, and he's decided that, I was a big kid. Nobody messed with me, and I never really messed with anybody. I never had many fights, but he decided that for some reason he was going to fight me that night. And
this was a friend.
Yeah.
He thought he was going to test his little black belt skills, huh?
Yeah, it didn't work out. He hit me twice, and I hit him once.
It didn't work out.
He got in the fetal position, and I hit him a few times until he finally just laid there like a, in a.
So that's when you said,
like
hey, I actually kind of like this.
It was fun. Yeah, it was fun, but
Did he cry?
I'm not a fighter.
Did he cry?
Yeah, he cried.
Do you guys friends today or no?
We still keep up. And we're about to have my 25th reunion, so I may show up to it and get to see him. But he's a good guy, man. And honestly,
sometimes those are the ones when you get in the fights, they end up, you have a level of respect, right? Afterwards.
Yeah.
Because you're like, okay, man, especially if you started it and you got your ass whooped. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It does happen. I've had a few of my best friends have ended up at least through jiu-jitsu, the blood and sweat that you give in jiu-jitsu. That I've never been a big street fighter. I had my couple years where I probably went wild and did too much fighting.
Yeah.
But
I've always liked you went wild. Tell me a little bit about those stories.
I'll be honest. My wild would be like your average night. A binge drinking in college, doing too much drinking and partying, having fun with your friends, and really.
What was your drink of choice?
Beer back in the day.
You are a hillbilly.
I'm a hillbilly.
Just give me some beer.
It's funny. Like I met my wife. So strangely enough, I was doing my student teaching at the time, and there's a hot blonde that's walking in the door every day at the same time I am, and I thought I'm going to ask her out.
Yeah.
So I stuck my head in the car to ask her out, and I saw a cute little girl in the back, and I was like, "Oh, she's adorable. Is that your sister?" And she's like, "No, that's my daughter." So I was like, "Oh, have a good day. We'll see you." So like a year and a half later, I just couldn't get her out of my head, and I asked her out again.
Really? So a year and a half?
Yeah, maybe it was a year, but about a year it took me to get over like
the fear.
Yeah, I didn't want to be. I knew I couldn't be a dad at that age.
Yeah.
I wasn't at the time that I was. I was wild during those couple years, and so I probably wasn't a great fit. And you just got to decide, okay, this is worth growing up for, and she was worth growing up for, and so. Like I said, I just had a couple years where I probably wasn't the best. And maybe compared to a lot of people, I didn't get into a lot. But for me, it was a lot more than I'd ever been in. I'd never been a fighter. Yeah. But I did learn that I liked to fight during that time.
You liked that. So let's talk about some of the bar fights, man, because I know you got in a few bar fights. I mean, how does that come up? Did you ever destroy anything?
Yeah, I picked, so the last one I ever had, I'll say that, like this guy was following me around all night, telling me about how he's like best friends with my brother and all this kind of stuff. And I didn't care, and he was fine.
Yeah.
But finally I called my brother and he's like, "Oh, I hate that guy. He stole money from me."
Oh.
And I was like,
motive.
You stood here all night talking to me and you stole money from my brother. You think you could do that? And he had like his little buddy that was supposed to be the tough guy of the group. And I didn't realize it, but the next thing I know, I got the guy up by the throat by one arm, and he's dangling by his throat.
Uh-huh.
And I'm telling the other guy, I'll kill him if he looks at me.
Yeah.
And then I see the cops walk in, and I just dropped him. I walked out, and I said, "You know what? I'm done. I'm too old for this. I'm done with this. I can't."
Did you ever go to jail?
No.
Never got to go to jail to fight? No.
I got out of.
You got out of.
I've been very fortunate. God blessed me, and I'll tell you, I shouldn't have been a principal. Yeah. I shouldn't have done.
You're a principal.
I was an elementary school principal.
Elementary school principal, boy! I bet you the kids loved having you walk in them halls.
Yeah.
Shoot, Mr. Harris is there. Better behave.
Yeah, we didn't have discipline problems. Nobody misbehaved, but I think I got fortunate. There wasn't cell phone cameras and stuff during the time that I did come up, and then I got my stuff together, and just everybody needs a little grace. So I had a couple years where I needed it, and man, I'm not perfect by any means today, but.
Who is?
Yeah.
Show me a perfect person. I'll show you a liar.
That's right.
Okay. I mean, let's just be real.
We've all got our faults.
Absolutely, man. So, that's the one thing about growing in life and how you do grow and how you do evolve and how you figure out who the hell you really are.
Yeah.
Type of thing. So, I mean, it sounds like you didn't really start any of the fights. It wasn't like you were a troublemaker.
No.
You were just kind of got picked on, or
I was the guy. I was the bully to the bullies.
You were the big guy. You were the big guy.
I've always been the guy, like, if you're bullying somebody, if you're that guy in the bar that night, I can't help it. I will say something to you.
Yeah.
So, like.
So you did kind of chop off at the mouth a little bit.
Anybody, if you were that guy that night, if you were the loudmouth in the bar, it would get on my nerves at some point, and I would have to tell you to shut your mouth. And then you decide if we're going to fight or not.
Right.
Like it's up to you at that point. I'm not looking for a fight, but you're going to shut up.
I like it. But you know what? That was the thing. I remember even going in high school. We used to always go to this club. It was called Jason's. It was non-alcoholic for under 21. And then, of course, they had over 21. You get a bracelet and stuff. And, of course, everybody tried to fake IDs and all that shit. But that was the place where you went to brawl.
Yeah.
Like, you called somebody out, and you would show up there, and before you know it, you're fighting. You're fighting in the parking lot. You're fighting in front of, the pool table. It didn't matter, but it was going to go down. But it was like, man, if I was going to fight, I wanted to fight the biggest guy there, because if I lost, I was supposed to.
That's right.
But if I won, I become hero.
Yeah.
I'm a king. Nobody's going to mess with me again. So one fight, that was all it took.
Yeah, most of the time it's not. I think the people that have had a ton, Trevor's had a ton, but he was looking for them. In general, if you fight a couple times, your name gets out there that you're not one to mess with, and then unless you're looking, you shouldn't find too many.
So let's talk about fighters, because obviously you coached for a long time. You started a Gogi back in the day. Now you got Scrapyard, but you've coached a lot of fighters and stuff. What is it? Do you find any common denominators with these fighters today? Are they a bunch of troubled kids, or are they just kids that just enjoy fighting and that's their way out, that they're trying to, get out of a certain situation? I mean, what do you see as a coach?
It's two really clear categories. It's two very clear paths. You've got fighters and you've got athletes. Mm-hmm. And some fighters are athletes. Some athletes are fighters. Mm-hmm. I can turn an athlete into a fighter if he's got some of that, especially if he came from like a contact sport like football.
But you gotta want to be able to not just throw the hit, but take a hit too.
Yeah, you gotta want to like contact.
I mean, who wants to get their head beat in every day? I mean, that's a special trait in itself.
Football players are kind of great in that matter. Torres was so great because he had a wrestling base. He just wrestled during wrestling season.
Yeah. So we're talking, let's tell the viewers real quick, talk about Torres Finney.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, he won the Dana White Contender 3 times.
That's right.
3-time champion. Nobody in the history of fighting has ever won the Dana White Contender 3 times. So he got 3 opportunities, 3-0, undefeated that. Then he finally got the UFC contract, making his debut fight April 5th. Obviously, you're here in town for that. We're here in Las Vegas.
That's right.
So the Punisher, Torres Finney, what a freak in nature he is.
He's the complete package. You will not find someone, when we talk about the things that make up a fighter, you got to have that little bit of grit and chip on your shoulder. Well, Torres was the wrong size in his sport for years, and he knew.
Yeah, he's small.
Yeah. So you're not going to be the guy that gets catered to. You know how football works.
Yep.
There's that guy that gets everything handed to him, and then there's the guy over there working his tail off.
Mm-hmm.
Torres was the guy working his tail off for attention.
Yeah.
Now, he was state player of the year in football over all the guys in the SEC.
Right.
But
not 6'2", 6'4".
Still couldn't get a scholarship, right?
But that's why it's all about size. That's what they look for. I mean, that was my biggest problem. I didn't want to give it up. But if I was 6'3", 6'4", I'd have been able to play a lot longer. I played in college Division III, but I wanted to play, so I played semi-pro 5 years, a little arena ball. I didn't want to give it up. I love hitting, love the game.
It was the same with me. I played high school. You're on a high school team that you're the biggest guy. You're a tackle. Yep. I'm like, brother, I got to be a center to play college. No, you're a tackle.
Yeah.
So then you go to college, you shift to your right position, and I was borderline size-wise even there. But, you just realize this, I want to keep doing this. I was young. I decided, MMA would be a great outlet for my, love of, fighting and football and all those things. And so that was how I found it, was just wanting that outlet, which a lot of those fighter-type guys are looking for. And then you got the athlete-type guy. Torres doesn't have any demons. He doesn't have any,
he's a champ. I always say he's a champ. I mean, he's a kid. He's a champ off the field, off the mat, I should say now, as he is inside the ring.
Yeah.
He's just a good-hearted person, you know what I'm saying? And I hope the guy that, the fame, which he's about to get even more of, doesn't ruin him. I don't believe it will.
No,
but
I'm
he's one of them
extremely
guys.
confident about just how anchored he is,
Yeah.
what a good family he's got, and what a good foundation he's got. And
He's
he's
got a
going to
good
do
surrounding.
big
People like
things.
you in his corner. I
Yeah.
mean, heck, he's got a good surrounding, which is important to keep him grounded. Because it's a lot, and you've seen it obviously over the last several months. The growth just from after he won the Contender, and now all of a sudden they're making EA Sports. He's got his own. He's going to be one of the fighters on the video game. You know what I mean, type of thing. So
it happens quick, and it's funny. We knew this was coming all these these 5 years. You kind of when he walked in the door, I knew he was special. And it's going to come as you go through and build these things and do it right. But then when it's coming, it's pretty fun to be on that ride and hey, it actually is happening. You and I thought this, several years ago, but it's actually coming to fruition. So it really is, an exciting thing to be a part of, and something I'm just honored to be a part of.
Well, it couldn't happen to a better crew, and I mean that just all of you guys as a team. The way you guys operate and support each other is just, it's badass. It really is. It's that brotherhood that I think a lot of people get into fighting for because they don't have a family, they don't have an outlet, so they begin to fight just so they have that brotherhood. Well, whether they're good or bad.
That's what I was missing. I didn't miss the fight as much as I missed the locker room.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm made for a locker room.
Mm-hmm.
I've spent my entire life in locker rooms. I don't really feel comfortable anywhere else. A training room, a locker room, a gym. I can take a nap on a mat with 50 guys fighting. No problem.
Right.
Put me in the bed at night and I may or may not make it to sleep.
Right.
I'm just comfortable around, fighting guys, warriors, those kind of guys. I feel more comfortable in those spaces.
So how did you go, obviously you transitioned in from, being an athlete into, martial arts.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen overnight. So you had to.
And I say I didn't fight. And, back in the day, you sat in a parking lot and you got your head right to go in that room. And Nikki, my assistant coach, was my first main training partner. And we took years off each other's lives. I mean, we threw small gloves every night, go to war. Yeah. We weren't friends. Nobody was friends. I was there to whoop everybody's ass.
Right.
Like that. There was no mistakes about that.
Uh-huh.
And everybody understood it. And you realize that as you're coming up, I never had that coach that really cared. And I never had the environment that was really great to be successful. So what do you end up doing? You just build the things you want. I always wanted that locker room, and I always wanted, if you're not going to have that coach, you want to be that coach.
Right. There you go.
The guy that's ride or die.
But what was missing.
Absolutely.
So you became that.
Yeah. So when you're in that environment, you're seeing like, we're just killing each other and we're not getting better. Like, we have to become like a team and work together to ever work on any weaknesses, because you're only working on your best stuff or your defense.
You think that's the Eagles? That's the ego coming in out of people,
Yeah, I was not there to lose, and I wasn't going to lose around. And, everybody else felt the same way. I was just determined it 100% wasn't going to be me.
Does that still happen now?
Yeah.
A guy like Finney, obviously, he's fighting in a higher level now. He's in the UFC. He's got to be careful, when you're sparring, when you're practicing, right? Because you can only take so many hits. And you got to be careful. You don't want to get hurt. You don't want to get injured. There's money on the line. Now, this is his job. This is his career. So, I mean, talk about a little bit of the transition of what he has to, how do you downsize what you do when you got that animal inside of you and you just want to tear somebody's heart out?
Well, I think, there's different ways that guys do it. You can have the big gym approach, or you can have like the small team approach, especially like more one-on-one. Because I'll say, look, the coaches in Vegas are the greatest coaches in the world. There's guys all over there. Amazing coaches.
Right.
But you're getting 100% of me. You might only get 5% of him. And if he might be better than me.
Right.
But you're getting a whole lot more. So I think having a small team and working on your skill, being able to work your offense with the right size bodies, and then going out and spending a lot of time at those big gyms, cross-training and getting the feel of the best guys in the world. Mm-hmm. But you're not working on on improving during those times. You're working on your conditioning. You're working on just finding out where you stand. It's like a test period.
Right.
And then you come back and you develop and you work more. And when you go back, you should see that you've gained versus the guys that stayed there.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been able to see that, and I told Finney at the very beginning, because I left MMA for about 10 years and I trained, got an assistant principal job, and I'm coming in with black eyes, and I'm trying to keep training.
You got kids
tell
going,
kids,
man,
you can't
Mr.
fight.
Harris, what's
and
going on?
I'm putting makeup on, and I'm trying to cover up. And
you see the other guy, right?
Yeah, it felt ridiculous what I was doing, and I was like, I got to just grow up, you know. And I didn't want to. I would.
Dude,
always,
funny story. I got to tell you this because you just brought a flashback to me. So me and my training partner, I box a little bit. I try to, learn as much as I can. And Tony, we were boxing, we were sparring, and he caught me right in the nose. Boom. 2 black eyes like a freaking raccoon. And I'm in sales. I got to go out and sell. I'm like, this is the money maker. You're hurting the money maker. We didn't have that gear on at the time. So it happens.
Brother, I was working, and I had a beautiful lady. She's very sweet, but she did not understand MMA. And that's when they were talking about MMA being cockfighting for humans.
Right.
So she was not going to be positive about this. And I'm having to show up to board meetings with makeup on and sit in the back with my head down. And so I'd
be like, somebody broke into my house last night, and I had to take them out.
Yeah. Every
got
week.
me once while I was sleeping.
Yeah, every week.
Can you imagine it happened again?
Yeah, it's funny. I slipped on ice this time. No, I gave it up. But the funny thing is, I ended up meeting Stacy Meeks, who I started to go with. He was the school resource officer, and so he called me in. And at the time, I thought I was one of the better MMA fighters in town, and I was huge. I was big. I was 250.
Yeah.
So there wasn't even the guys that might be technically better than me. I wasn't really sweating.
Right.
Well, this little 5'7" guy calls me in, and he's like, "Hey, I heard you train." And I was like, "How does this guy even know I train?" So he said, "Meet me at 4:00 at City Club the next day," and he put it on me. He beat me, and I'd never been beat like that.
Yeah.
And I just realized, this guy's different. He's a high-level grappler.
Okay.
And so I stuck with him, and I just decided, okay.
Who's that guy?
Stacy Meeks.
Okay, Stacy Meeks, gotcha.
So he and I became training partners and started Agogi. And Agogi just started off with, we took the kids nobody wanted, and they let us go in the wrestling room in the off-season. And Agogi was the Spartan school for boys. So we're going to beat you, and eventually you're going to learn to be a good person.
Right.
And those guys turned into really high-level grapplers and really, had some success in MMA. And so we decided to open a real school, and then we opened the school, and it was doing well. And Torres comes walking in the door after I was so against going back to MMA because I can't be 50%.
Right.
I'm 100%.
I got to ask, was Torres coming? Did he walk in without a shirt on?
No,
he might never wear clothes.
I'm pretty sure it's a tank top.
Yeah, maybe a tank top.
I guarantee it did not have sleeves.
He probably was a real thin tank top, flip-flops on, know.
Actually, I'll tell you everybody told me about him, and I was in the middle of actually running for county commissioner at the time. So I hadn't seen him. I got mad at a politician and was like, I'll just beat you. So, a stupid thing, but that's how I am. Give me a fight, we'll fight. So I'm training I'm right out of neck surgery. I just had 2 artificial discs put in my neck.
Oh.
And I'm taking it easy, but I see this guy, and he's a bowling ball. He's 240 at the time. And I thought, oh my gosh, this kid's a freaking athlete. And everybody's like, you got to roll with him. Of course, I don't really feel like it,
Right.
I'm not feeling great right out of neck surgery.
It suck when you're not 100% of yourself. I mean, especially as we get older now,
it's
like your mind tells you could do so much, but the body just does not listen.
Man, I'm telling you, right before that, I used to say, it's not going to happen to me. It's not going to happen to me.
Yeah.
And then when it happened, it's a humble moment.
It sucks. Yeah.
But that night, I just kept underhooking him. He could take me down, but he didn't know what he's doing. So underhook, I take the back, flatten him out, choke him.
Right.
Well, about the third one, he starts wheezing. And this is right after George Floyd. And I'm like, I'm about to kill this kid. I'm about to George Floyd this kid. He's wheezing so bad. And so I was like, I'll give him just a little breath because I got him, I'm hip down, kind of the position you'll always see he finished his first contender fight.
Yeah.
And I got him flattened out.
He learned it from you.
Yeah. And so I'm like, I'll give him just a little breath. I gave him just a fraction of space. And he came up and hit a Granby. And I pride myself on just being able to keep myself safe and you safe. So I went to cut him, but he was so fast and explosive. I came right down on my head, and he pile drive me, right in those artificial discs. And I came up ready to kill him. I mean, I I snatched
fight
him.
and flight. You know,
Yeah.
you got your survival mode
We're
now.
going to war at that point, and I saw that. He's a sweet kid.
Yeah.
You don't understand that part of
No, but that's the
Torres.
athlete in you too, though.
Sure.
I mean, come on, let's just call it what it is. You're a fighter.
Yeah, I remember.
And you enjoy it, like you like it.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw his face, and I was like, we're going to stop. I was like, we're going to stop because somebody's going to get hurt. I was like, I'm mad. I was like, it's not your fault. You didn't know. It's fine. Please come back, but we're going to have to stop now or somebody's getting hurt.
Yeah.
And he didn't come back for a couple of months. And I was like, man, I scared him
away.
When he came back, though, I didn't realize at the time he had to leave for COVID. And then when he came back with a vengeance.
Yeah.
And he was working at FedEx and showing up to every class. And I can't help it, man. You see a kid like that, you're like, I guess I'm an MMA coach now. I guess I had coached some of my guys, and I would tell them, you got to go somewhere else. And I told Torres, I was like, there's going to come a day when you go to another gym and they beat you, you stay there and you train there. I said, I will train you. And if you ever go get beat somewhere, you don't ever come back, you stay there. And, first time out, I'm thinking he's going to some of these top gyms a year in. He's already got management in 3 fights. And I'm like, well, it was fun. I'm glad I got him a good start. And I remember he's like, hey, I smashed everybody.
Right.
And I was like, you did. He's like,
I still got a job.
I was like, I went with this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy. And it's Hall of Famers. And you're like, what? And he's like, yeah. No, I didn't get tapped one time. And I was like, that's all. It was the best, for me.
Sure.
What I did during that time that I was training, I thought about MMA nonstop. I trained my grappling every day like it was going to be a fight.
Man, I want to go train with you, man. You get me fired up right now.
Well, when you're sitting there in the office, you know how it is. You were a teacher. Yeah. What are you doing? Your mind's just thinking about grappling 24/7. Every move I can make. So I wasn't going with elite guys. I'm sitting here going with guys I could beat in my sleep.
Right.
So I'm perfecting.
But that's the only ones that want to go with you, too.
The only place I can get roles. I'm in a town of 6,000 people. I'm in the middle of nowhere.
You already tapped into all those.
Yeah. So I'm perfecting every single thing I do. Every little detail of what my game is, I've got perfect. Mm-hmm. And I'm just using this as like to occupy my time. And then a freaking athlete like that comes walking in the door that you can just go, well, here, I'm going to just take it. And he does it, and immediately it works. So that's the best
God works
feeling.
In funny ways, baby.
Absolutely.
It was no accident.
No.
It was no accident. That there was a purpose there and there was a purpose for that 2 months for him to sit away too, because he realized, let me go back to this guy.
Yeah. It was really amazing. If you think like Nate Carr taught him his double leg.
Yeah, that's right.
What are the chances of Nate Carr being in Macon, Georgia during the time that he's in?
Right.
He needs to learn his double leg.
Right.
And then he shows up to Chattanooga.
Well, he's an all-world wrestler.
Absolutely.
Obviously, you
get a double leg from Nate Carr.
Yeah, I mean, he could probably go to go if he really wanted to, probably go to the Olympics and really, if he forced himself because he has that discipline,
he would shock people.
Right, exactly.
He would shock.
He's a freak. He's a freak of nature. But just look at him. I mean, he's 5'6", 5'7".
Yeah.
He's a short guy. He's short. I don't care. He's small. His arms, he scratches his knees with his arms. He's got the long ass reach. You got to be careful. But I also tell him too, sometimes that's a hurt too, because people see it coming.
Yeah.
Because you got to wind up, right? But he's learned. He's learning how to control that and how to not let you see it coming.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Well, we tell him, from the day we got in, you're going to be Bama. You're going to be Georgia. We're going to do exactly what we do every day. We're going to get it so good. You can have us on film. You can watch it. You can try to find somebody to emulate it. You're never going to find somebody that does it as well as we do it.
That's true.
And we're going to go just impose our will every game. Every fight we treat just like football. I mean, it's so funny. I coach him just like football, just like I planned on doing all those years.
Sure.
Now I'm just applying it to MMA. And he thinks about this game just like a football player.
Mm-hmm.
So we just break down film the same way. We know what we're going to do.
Right.
I mean, I know every single thing about Robert Valentine, and he knows 10 times more than he'll know like what he ate for breakfast this morning.
Tell me what that's like, being a coach, being in a corner, where you see things and your fighter's not responding or they're not listening. Does that ever happen to you? I mean, it doesn't have to be Torres. It could be any of the fighters that you go, baby. What is that like? Is that frustrating as hell, or is that, it's kind of part of the game?
No, it's very frustrating to me because like I have just kind of a particular style. So if I haven't been able to get them the things that I want, like let's say I came in early or the guy's already been a fighter and then I come into the corner, I may not be able to call half of what I would call and it's kind of overused, like how many times you're going to say something, but there's going to be that really important time in a fight that I need him to know exactly what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And if he doesn't and I can't call it, that might be the fighter, it might not, right? Like
now, the things though, you got to have code words. You have code words because you don't want the opponent to know what you're saying.
No, for the most part.
You can't say jab, jab, jab because they know you're going to jab.
I don't call very many things for my fighters. So what I'm going to do typically is talk about the other fighter. I'm going to call, he's looking for teeps.
Oh.
Here comes the straight. I'm going to basically.
You're reading him.
I'm trying to get in the other guy's head for the most part. Yeah, I'm going to tell that guy everything he's going to do, or I'm just going to keep quiet.
Mm.
And
that's dangerous.
Then when it gets into the cage, or if he gets into a position where I see something, I'm calling that loud.
Mm.
So I probably call less on the feet, and I probably call less than a lot of coaches. I'll hear coaches never stop yelling during a round.
Right.
Where you might not hear me for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
If now there could be a grappling exchange where I'm saying everything to do because my guy's going to hear it and we're going to be on to the next thing before the guy ever realizes it. So it doesn't matter.
Right.
So if we're in a grappling exchange or on the cage, I might say underhook, ankle pick, drop to the post, squeezing the knees, climb, take the post,
gotcha.
Finish. And we may just say boom, 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 boom.
So it's like, here it comes. Doesn't matter. You know what it is.
We're going to get you in a few places where we're running our offense.
You don't do any little signals like base.
Nah. I keep it so simple. I almost feel dumb, like how simple my stuff is versus other people, because we're going to take the post.
I give him a code. I'm just saying. I say, give him the wham bam slam.
There you go.
You know what I mean? And he did that in Jacksonville really good.
I've called
that video went viral.
I've called him give the wham bam slam in there before. And Trevor, I've called go Sand Mountain on him, which means just fight like you're a meth head in the parking lot, brother. Like finish this guy.
Hi, I'm Phil Benamino, CEO and founder of Cost Plus Processing, the company that provides financial services to your business. We provide things such as POS systems, ATM machines, and check services. One of the biggest things that we strive ourselves here at Cost Plus Processing is our customer service. We are an A+ rated with the BBB with customer service, and we're proud to say we're here in the United States with all of our customer service agents. Our objective is to actually teach you and educate you about the costs that you're currently paying and show you ways where you can eliminate those costs that you no longer have to pay. One of the biggest programs that are out there today is our dual pricing program, where you actually can offer your customers now a choice of how they want to pay. Do they want to pay with cash or do they want to pay with card? And if they pay with card, it actually helps you to absorb the card fees, so you no longer have to pay the fees like you've done for many, many years. Cost Plus Processing aligns ourselves with some of the top POS companies out there in the industry today. For example, we have perfected the car dealership industry, and our dedicated team are equipped to manage a variety of online payment forms and financing options that merchants require in this advanced ecosystem of payments. If you have a restaurant, we are proud to be able to manage the ongoing difficulties that arise from this fast-paced industry, and you're looking for pay at the table, where customers can easily swipe their cards, tap their cards, and make their payments with tip, and also have a choice of how they want to pay, we have the solutions for you here at Cost Plus. We want to help other small business owners make their dreams come true by providing the best financial support. From barbershops to liquor stores, having the ability to take payments, schedule online, and make calculating tip sharing an easy task only helps business owners put more attention and money into what really matters the most. Also, Cost Plus Processing is on the front end of AI. We can also provide you kiosks for your business, so customers can walk over to the kiosk and order anything that they want. Likewise, if you're having problem getting employees in the kitchen to work, we can also provide you robots that will actually deliver your food straight to the customer. I want to thank you for the time that you took to learn a little bit about Cost Plus Processing, and most importantly, why we are the future of merchant processing.
So we'll do special things. Every guy's so different.
Sure.
And they're all like your kids, right?
But sometimes you're fighting, you don't hear, like, because you're tuned in. And that's one of the biggest problems. It's not so much that the fighter's disrespecting the coach, because they're not. It's just they're tuned in and they're seeing something a little bit different because they're right in the face.
Yeah.
You know?
It's why, one, you don't want to be background noise, so you don't want to be calling out all the entire fight. You just become background noise to
You
the
got
fighter.
the fans doing that.
Right.
You know?
And then in the other case, I cannot see everything in that cage. So there's plenty of times I'm like, I'm calling something, he's like, he's got my left arm. And I don't know that during the fight,
Right.
but he knows it.
Sure.
And so he can adapt. He doesn't have to listen to what I'm saying.
Right.
What I need to do with my fighters, and this is probably the biggest thing that people need to understand, is I'm not coaching that guy in the cage. I'm coaching him before. I'm programming the computer before we get there.
It's a good analogy.
This is about taking, if you're programming and you give a million options, it takes a lot of RAM.
Mm-hmm.
So that guy's slow in the cage. I want to make my options 2 choices.
Right.
I just want to have situations where we get guys and then either choice is wrong for the guy a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
But we're running our offense on very little memory, so we're able to go as fast as we can.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I think that's a big advantage. The guy is the computer. So the guy's got to fight his fight. I'm only there to add a keystroke here and there.
Sure.
But really, the guy's doing 90. I would not even be there if it wasn't for that guy.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have the right fighter, it doesn't matter how. I was just as good sitting at my gym, not coaching anybody.
Right.
I've obviously gotten better as I've coached MMA, but
Sure.
I'm the same guy.
Right.
So it's the athlete that matters. I don't matter.
What do you do when you see your athlete comes to the corner? They're on, and they're getting beat, and they feel hope, like everything they're doing is wrong. You know what I mean? Like, what do you have? What is the biggest thing you have to do as a coach to, obviously get that confidence back into them to let them know that, hey, there's still another 5 minutes out there, or there's still another round, or, whatever it may be. Like, that's got to be very challenging.
Yeah. So a lot of times it's very different for each fighter. I may chew one guy out and I may be like, hey, brother, that wasn't a great round.
Right.
We're going to need to put some hands on this guy before we do something.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times it's
do you tell them that? You say, hey, man, you're behind. You need to.
Yeah. You're going to know.
At the end of the round, you let them know
yes,
where you think you're at.
I will always tell you, and I will take into consideration the fact that those judges are taking perception.
Right.
They perceive it, but they don't understand fighting.
Dana always says, don't leave it to the judge,
You
man.
can't, because they'll call something that got blocked by somebody really good. They'll call that as a strike landed.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things that they're good guys. And I have friends that are, that do judging, but you can't see everything there either. Right. And there's also some things that the rules don't exactly line up to who's being successful in the actual fight. Mm. So I'll tell the guy you lost the round.
Yeah.
I'll tell the guy you won the round.
Right.
But I try to keep it calm. I try to just keep it like we're just in another day. Mm-hmm. Now in the third, you might hear me a little like, you got to go win.
Right.
You got to, let's get it together and knock this guy out.
Take the gloves off and let's roll.
For the most part, I'm going to, when we're in doubt, I'm going to tell you to get on top. We train every day to win the 2-minute offense. Our 2-minute offense.
Now with Finney, obviously he took a lot of heat, in the Ultimate Fighter, because he wasn't finishing the way Dana would like to see a fight finish. He was winning clearly every round. The hands down, knew that, but didn't like the fact he was wrestling. He was grappling. What are your thoughts on that? Because I got my own opinion on it, but I was just curious what your thoughts as a coach.
I think they dislike not finishing more than they dislike grappling. So I think a lot of people will go, well, they just want. And look, everybody loves a knockout. So I'm not saying, obviously, they're going to take the knockout, but they want finishes. So, but sometimes they really do underestimate the level of opponent. So he's a brown belt on the ground. And so if he can get it to guard at all, he's going to be able to lengthen Finney. Well, that happened. Mm-hmm. Now, Finney dominated the fight.
Right.
But that guy was an excellent fighter. We did what we needed to do to win, which was get him off the cage.
Right.
Now, they're all those kind of, but he was an excellent competitor who will go on to have a UFC career. There's some guys that will never sniff the UFC again after they get knocked out in 30 seconds.
Sure. I think that's the funny part of it all is people don't realize they're like, oh, or Finney beat this guy or this, that, and the other. The reality is, listen, the UFC chose these people to put in the ring with him. they're quality fighters. Okay,
They think
don't.
they're good.
I mean, even this fight here coming up. I mean, he's a minus 270 favored right now. You know, that's what the Vegas line's got him at. You know, and I'm sitting there going, how do you do that in a UFC? It's a fight,
right?
And you got two quality guys that certainly earned their way to the UFC. You know, they ain't just paying some kid off the street. You know, they had to earn it. You know, to get in there. And a fight, it's a striker. Any strike, anything can happen, of course. So. Grappling is a part of it. They allow it in MMA for a reason because it's part of the war. You know what I mean? Type of thing. So,
well, and we talk about it. Finney and I talk a lot. John Jones said it years ago.
Yeah.
Best way to win a fight is take a guy down, beat him up.
Exactly.
I mean, this isn't rocket science.
Right.
We're just beating people up. You know, like there's ways that you can do it that are more efficient.
Right.
And that's what we're focusing on is efficiency a lot of times. But
I know one of the greatest champs out there who's retired right now, and I don't think he knocked out too many people. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of guys
Russian
been successful. Hey, some of these guys, Khabib was just not entertaining. Everybody said, "Who wants to watch?" But
he's a winner. He was a winner.
When you're elite, when you're the best, all of a sudden your style's entertaining. And that's what Finney and I've talked about. Like, 10-0, you may be boring, but at 20-0.
Right.
It's entertaining now. Right? Like, so when you keep winning, all those problems go away. All that talk of not being entertaining.
I love that about Finney. That was one things he said in the very first podcast was like, you know what? He wasn't upset that Dana didn't give him the contract the very first time. He's like, you know what? I just know I got to go out there and keep improving, and I'm just going to keep winning.
Yeah.
And as soon as I keep winning, they can't deny me all the time.
Yep.
If I just keep winning, they're going to eventually have to give me my shot. And that was his mentality, which I thought was phenomenal because I'd have been pissed off, you know what I'm saying, type of thing. And we'd been like, oh, I got robbed. Never did he ever say anything negative. Never did he say anything, upset. He just like, no, I'm just going to keep winning. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm going to do, and I'm going to keep my path. And I think that's why he's going to have a long path. And I think I really believe in my heart, you're going to be able to experience that day.
Yeah.
In a cage when he gets that belt one day.
I tell people, and I've said this for years, and people, look, I think everybody's probably thought man's full of it.
Yeah.
But I said, is Finney, and I got other guys, Trevor's, again, like my son, all of them are kind of like my kids in different ways, but you got such a good relationship with Finney.
Yeah.
I said, it's like being with Tiger before Tiger or with Jordan before Jordan.
Right.
That's what they're like. What's it like? Hang around. That's what it's like.
And it's like, it's same. You know what I'm saying? He hadn't changed and stuff. Yeah. Let's talk about Trevor a little bit because, Trevor obviously UFC got in there, had some great fights, had a couple tough ones too. He didn't have the success. Like he's not undefeated, but he had a couple losses. How has he bounced from that? What has it been like coaching him to keep his head straight?
Yeah, there's been a lot of, it's been a crazy year. And Trevor kind of took a lot of that. Like he traveled a lot. He tried, I think what happened, Trevor's a scrapper. And he needs to put you kind of in the storm, right? And we want to make the storm tighter and more efficient, but we don't want to get rid of that. And so when you go and you hear about, well, you need to have perfect striking and perfect this and perfect, that's not a fight. A fight's not perfect.
No.
And so when you try to perfect things that really, there is no perfect, you're just changing who you are. You're changing the DNA of what you are. You can't fight that way.
Well said, yeah.
So what you have to do is steer a guy like him. And to be honest, he just had too much going in his head for a couple fights. And he's also, he fought at 180 pounds as high as that pro. So he's fought at 170.
Really?
A lot.
Okay.
So when it was a big deal for me to convince him to go to 155.
Yeah.
And so as soon as he went to 155, I told him, I'm like, you're 145, brother. I love you. You will be elite at 145.
Yeah.
I will coach you wherever you want. If you want to have fun and you want to make some money, 155. But if you want to be a champion or if you want to make a serious run at this, 145. And I'd bring it up every once in a while, but for the most part, I let him decide. But
where's he at?
He's going to 145 in this fight. So, and he will have division at the top of the power that he has will put him at the top of the division power-wise.
Yeah.
The chin that he has should hold up.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to make for some really fun fights. There's a lot of guys.
I'm excited to see that.
These guys are not going to be as big. They're not going to just be able to hold him down.
Sure.
Because he was going against guys that are
He's used to that.
Just
bigger,
massive.
way bigger. Yeah.
So these guys are going to be much more in line with his frame.
Right.
And I think you're going to see him have a lot more success. And the other thing is he can grapple.
Right.
And, what I do mainly is, I'm an MMA coach, but I'm going to teach you to dominate from top.
Right.
I want one takedown, you don't ever get up again.
Mm.
And so he's going to be able to do everything. You're not going to see just a striker. You're going to see really a mixed martial artist that's trying to.
Right.
But just being him too, it's going to be chaos. He's a fun fight.
Talk from the fighter's angle for a second, because what people don't realize, just because these people got the UFC contract, it's not like they get rich overnight. There's no money it's like you got to fight so many fights. You're getting maybe 10 grand a fight. If you win, you might get a bonus. You might get go up to 20 grand the next fight. But it's not like an overnight success, right? Where, hey, boom, we give you a contract. Here's $1 million, or more, of course, like some of these football players and some of these NIL money that's out there with these kids today. UFC is not really, you don't get that. So it's like, hey, great, you got a contract, but you still got to fight to earn it, which means you still have to practice. You still got to, you still got to travel to go fight other people so you can get better. And there's an expense with all that.
Absolutely.
And how grueling that is on the mind and on their souls that they have to go through that as well.
Yeah. And that's, that's one of the things I try to help. Obviously I can't do it all. There's a lot of expense in this game. And
sure.
So it takes
it's an expensive hobby.
Yeah. It takes having great
before it's an actual career.
It's a very expensive hobby. I'll tell people that I'm like, you play fantasy football. I'm doing it in real life every day. It's so much fun. Like, who wouldn't want to do it? But it's a more expensive hobby than a lot of guys.
Yes.
And it's no matter what, it's always kind of ended up being a hobby for me. I've made money other places, and my goal eventually is to make money at this, but
sure.
When you're on this ride with a guy, the only way it's going to work being where we're from, because I don't have the resources that a lot of these big gyms have. We're family. So when I'm making more money than you, you're not paying me 10% when you're not making any money.
Right.
I'll cover everything I can for you when I can.
Sure.
And then
don't forget,
when you're making big money, you can take care of me a little bit.
That's right.
I'm not taking a vow of poverty, but I'm not going to ask a guy to come out of pocket when I need him to have every dollar to be successful.
Absolutely.
So, when the time's right, they can pay me. But until then, I'm here to get you across that line. I want you making more money than I make.
Sure. Well, it's funny because you say, you're on the ride with him, but the truth is you guys are riding together.
We are.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not where he is today without you. You're not where you are without him. Together, you guys ride you ride and die, type of thing. So, and it comes sacrifice. You got to have sacrifice. You got to have discipline. Yeah. You can only tell him what to do, but he's still got to do it as well, type of thing. You don't know what he's putting in his mouth when you're not around. That's you only hope that he's listening and doing those things. And he had some pretty big cuts. I remember last fight, he was 25 pounds overweight the night before. He dropped 25 pounds. I was like, no way. I want to lose 25 right now. Give me 24 hours.
You don't want to do it the way we do it.
I don't want to do it that way.
It's a rough day. We had one day, I think he was trying to cut 14. I cut 12 at the same time, and I wasn't water loaded. It was just a bad cut. You're on that ride with them.
Yeah.
We're there together.
So you're sitting there sweating it out with them. You're in the sauna. Yeah. You guys are hanging. You're eating the same shit. You're like, hey, if you're going to be in pain, I'm going to be in pain right by you.
They
love that.
Like, Torres is part of my. He really is part of my family. We go to church together every week. We're eating together every week. Just about every.
That's right.
3 or 4 times a week. Like, we're together every day.
You're eating a lot of fried chicken with Finney.
We go to some, hey, I'm
bread pudding or
I'll
whatever.
be a lot of times on the white face, But he'll also, he don't care. We'll go anywhere. No. We're very comfortable where we're at. I love Trevor. He's a handyman. He loves working. So he's at the gym. He's building stuff. He's working. He's got to stay busy.
Yeah.
So he's that kid that's just
always going to be active.
Yeah, always working, always doing something. Finney's the opposite. He's going to be sleeping until it's time to work, and then he's going to go all out.
Right.
And he's eating, sleeping, resting, and then putting out work.
Let's talk about him, man. He's obviously fighting 185, right? Do you see him cutting down to a smaller class? I know they want him to. You got to think about what's in that class and what's down below.
People are going to say I'm insane. You wouldn't surprise me to see him at heavyweight at some point.
Really?
Like, you can't get up. So once he takes a big guy down, it's so hard for a big guy.
People don't realize how strong he really is.
He's the strongest guy probably in the UFC, period.
Yeah.
Like, period.
That's strong.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big statement right there.
I've watched him do 600 for 8 on a deadlift. 650 was my best deadlift, and I was pretty proud of it.
Yeah.
I watched him do 600 for 8, and it was nothing.
Right.
I mean, the guy is a tank.
Right.
And when you're putting that much mass in one small area, you can't get up. We're going to control your hips and your chest.
Yeah.
You're done.
I told him that it's one of the problems when he's on top, though, his arms are so long, so it's kind of hard to hit. You're almost missing sometimes, and you're hitting yourself. People don't realize that. They're like, why does that look weird? Like, you don't realize how long he is. Like, he's just a long dude.
I promise you, I've learned, and we think about it, he's just, he is built different.
Yes.
So it's going to look different.
As long as he gets the same result. If we can get those punches straight,
and if he really threw with absolute bad intentions, I don't think he'd have to land more than 1 or 2. Because when he's just,
can he take a punch? You think he can take a shot?
Dude,
he's never really had to yet. I mean, he got clipped one time.
We've walked him into enough rooms, and I've put him in there with enough guys. I'm 100% confident he can take a shot. And I also know he's a dog.
Yeah.
And
when he takes it, he gets a little mad. Like,
he's got a chip on his shoulder.
Well, that's the competitiveness in him, type of thing.
So you're just going to piss him off, and you're just going to make him grind you for 3 rounds if he's got to. So, I feel very confident. Like, everybody would see Finney and go, he's a front runner. He's a front runner. He's a front runner.
Yeah.
Well, he had to be a dog his whole life in football and in wrestling. So he didn't change from being a dog to a front runner overnight. Mm-hmm. He's still a dog. He just hadn't had to use it yet.
Right. And he's in a different fight.
That's right.
It's a different game right
now.
The
thing is, can these guys stay on their feet to hit him? That's what I wonder who's going to really be able to defend the takedown. Mm-hmm. Somebody's going to do it, and we'll have to adapt. But you're going to have to do it.
Right.
We're going to go out there and put you on the ground every fight.
Right. As you should. Because he ain't got to reach up then to do that. Some of the videos, he's here every fight. He's here every fight, and stuff. So, but he's used to that. That's a great thing. Like, it doesn't intimidate him. People look at it like, oh my God, this guy's so much bigger than him. I'm like, no, he's just taller than him.
He'll tell you, he's like 4 inches of shin. He's like, I'm supposed to be scared of 4 inches of shin. Look at those little shins. I mean, for him, if you ain't got a big butt and you ain't like built, he's just really not worried about you. If there's guys that have those long frames that are very dangerous, and then there's guys that have the long frame that it doesn't do them an advantage to go down in weight class. Like, maybe they need to get stronger. You have to be you got to be strong to be able to survive.
So fight week for you as a coach, you've been working hard all these months. The fight finally comes up. You're called on it. What is it like as a coach? Are you nervous at all? What is fight week like for you? I mean, I know you've got to try to enjoy a little bit and absorb it, but you get nervous. You're such a competitor yourself. What is that like?
Yeah.
Are you eyeing down their coach? You're sitting there going, let me study him too? Or
no, I don't get into any of I feel like we're professionals and we should be able to be professional.
You are, but not everybody is.
Right. No, I've had plenty of guys, and there's been, very few over the years, but there's been a couple that have, kind of got in my face a little bit. And they hurried and left.
Right.
But I'm not a big travel guy. I'd like to be in the middle of my 70 acres, I like being just at home.
Uh-huh.
And I love training my guys, but Trevor and I have talked about this because he's like, man, I know you hate traveling. I know you hate doing all this. And I'm like, I do, but I would do it absolutely every day because of how much I love the other part. Like, the part that I love counts so much that I'll do any of the parts that I don't.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, this week, it's me getting beat up a lot. Yeah. I mean, I'm taking, during a normal camp, I don't have to take all those beatings. But, fight week, there's not that many guys to take them. So,
right.
A lot of it for me is like, I want him to be able to get his offense in. I want him to get his rounds in, and I'm going to give him those rounds. Yeah. That's what I've trained for, is to be able to take these beatings on these weeks.
Hopefully your wife's good masseuse.
No, she doesn't. I've been trying to get her interested in massage for a very long time. She's not very interested, but God put us together. And
what does she think about it? What does she think about you, being in this fight world?
She's very supportive because I think she sees it's probably the best place for me.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of things.
Channel all your energy there.
Yeah. So, I've done business. I've done school system. I've started businesses.
Yeah. I mean, too, you got a car dealership now. You're selling cars. You got Scrapyard. You got your own, gym, MMA gym. So yeah, you're not shy of trying to reach out there and do some other things to make some money.
Yeah. And really what I do is I'm I've always been good at taking care of myself, but all the little extras are ways to take care of the guys, right? So like the scrapyard, guys can make money and it's easy, right? The car lot, they can sell a car, they can clean a car, they can do a lot of fix a car. You can do a lot of things and they can make a little extra money. So a lot of what I'm always doing is just finding a way to take care of my guys.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just one of those people, like when you're mine, you're mine.
Yeah.
And you know, you may not want to be, but I can't help it. Like when I bring you in and like feel like you're one of mine, I got to try to take care of you. So
that's awesome. So thinking about this, and after obviously, you know, people are going to see this. There are going to be kids that are going to come to you. I'm sure they do now, anyways.
Yeah.
You ever say no to a kid?
Yeah,
you know?
I'll say no to people, but I won't say no. I say no to people that don't want to be good. You don't have to have the athletic ability, and you don't ever have to fight. But if you don't want to train to be good, I don't want to coach you. Like if you're a casual that just wants to be you can be the most casual guy, but you plan on training with me 2 or 3 days a week for the next 5 years, cool, we'll be together.
Right.
Or if you want to train 5 days a week for a year, cool, we'll be together. But if you want to come in here and there, I don't need you.
Yeah.
And like I worked hard to get to the point where I don't need you.
Right.
So
you got anybody right now that you say this might be the next one coming up through here?
I got a few.
Yeah, you got a couple?
Montavious is here with us.
Okay.
I feel great about him.
Yeah.
I've got Carter.
It's fun when you know, like you sense, you're like, okay, this kid's got a little something in him. You know, and you can see it. You know, same way. You know, I got some athletes that are in college playing football now. It's like I know they're going to make it to the NFL. Like you knew when they were 12, when they were 15, when they were 18, because you taught them and you watched their work ethics and you seen, you know, how they took the knowledge in and how they disciplined themselves to be the best. You know, they just want to be a part. They just want to be the best.
Yeah,
you know,
I've
which
got
is a
4 or
big
5
difference.
more that I think really could make it.
Yeah,
and it's
that's awesome.
fun because we'd never had one from Chattanooga ever. So then we got 2.
You know, make it a mecca now.
If we can make it, you know, I never.
But, you know, do you find people want to come to your gym and train? Like I know Torres, like he goes down to Florida, he'll go to different places, but now people might want to show up at your gym just to see what you got there for competition because you're doing something right.
Yeah, we definitely have some guys moving to come train with us. I'm a little weird. Like I don't like my stuff out online,
right?
So I don't put anything. Not about personal. I don't put anything training online.
Sure.
I've talked more in this interview about like the stuff that I do than I've ever done. And
we got the exclusive today.
Yeah. I mean, that's not saying it's special. Everybody does these things, but I just feel like if I'm going to be your coach,
come in and learn.
It's best that I teach you in person.
Right.
It's best that I'm not out looking for publicity. You're the one that needs the publicity.
You're not doing videos. You're not doing coaching.
I'm not
videos
here to get famous.
Stuff.
I'm here to just coach you. Yeah. And I'm here to, you know, I kind of like that most people don't know who I am. Right. I think, you know, that.
Well, unfortunately, that's going to change.
Yeah, it probably will. Yeah.
So, but,
I don't think you can coach these guys and not get some notice because I think guys would have coached their entire career to get a Trevor. And Trevor, I fully believe, can go be a champion at 45.
Yeah.
He's got the tool.
I agree too.
Everybody will say, well, you got the chin, you got the athletic ability.
He's a dog.
The only thing they knock is the stuff that I provide. Right. So if I suck at my job, then Trevor won't be a champion.
Right.
If I'm good at my job, then he will be.
See,
so
but you take that on yourself. So you take on that.
Yeah.
That say, hey, it's on my shoulders. Yep. You know, my job. So
Trevor's going to give everything he's got to give. So if you do it right, he's going to do it. You know, so it's as much up to me as it is him because he'll put out the work if I can give him what he needs.
You know, the one thing I will want to say real quick before we break this up is, you know, I love how the UFC transitioned into when they brought like even Finney in. You know, they don't tell you, hey, here's your new coaching crew. Here's your new people. You know, they say, hey, we have people available if you need them. You use your guy, whatever you want, but they don't tell you what to do. They don't own you.
Yeah.
You know, where unfortunately some of these other leagues and some other things, I mean, you know, you're fighting for, this is who we want you to train with. This is what we want you to do. So that's pretty good.
Yeah. And I look at it like, it's all evolved, right? Like when you come in, I think you see it one way. And as you're here for a while, you go, well, it's about the guy, right? So it's not about me.
Right.
I'm going to have Julian in the corner from Fusion. Julian's an excellent coach. I can't wait to be in the corner with him.
Yeah.
I want my guys to go find those best coaches too to work with me. I'm happy to do that.
Sure.
And
you stay humble, coach. I mean, you're you know what I'm saying? Like you're not sitting there saying, hey, I want, you know your skill level, you know you're good at what you do, but you also know that, hey, if somebody else can bring something else to that, why not?
Yeah,
You know what I'm
I'm
saying?
on Torrez Finney's team.
Right.
I'm on Trevor Peak's team.
Yeah.
When I'm on the regional team, it's not Scrapyard. I mean, it is.
Right.
But the name can change 10 times. I'm on that guy's team that night.
Right.
He's the guy.
Right.
I'm on his team.
Sure.
So that's how I look at it each night. I'm on that guy's team. They're not, they're not really on my team necessarily. I'm on their team.
So before we go, I got to ask real quick, what's your prediction of the fight?
I think late first, early second, TKO. It'll be takedown, ground and pound.
There you go. All right. Well, Coach, thanks so much for being here today. Really appreciate your time. I know you got a busy week this week. We're excited for you. We're pulling for you.
Yeah, thank you, brother. I really appreciate you and everything you do.
You got it. And there you have it, folks. As Wham Bam always tells you, if your life was a movie, would it be worth watching? And if the answer is no, then stop being ordinary and start being extraordinary. Till next Wednesday, baby, stay positive and keep testing negative. I'm your boy Wham Bam, and I'm out.